welcome to cookie decorating, our Valentine's class. You blow me away. Thank you so much for signing up for class, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what is in your little kit here. So you're going to open it up, and there's this card with instructions for later. Set that aside. You're going to get all of your cookies out. All of these delicious cookies. Yes. Our featured flavor today is double chocolate espresso. Yummy. We've got a little kit here with some important things here. I'm going to show you what it is. We've got our practice sheet. We're going to start with that, so put that in front of you. We've got a photo, which you want to keep in front of you during class so you have a picture to reference. Right here we've got a printout of a template as well as parchment. Set that aside. Some extra piping bags in case you cut your holes too big. A scribe tool, a paintbrush, a fork, which we'll be doing a fun technique with later. All of your icing. Some little fondant bows, edible paint, and sprinkles. We have a lot going on today, a lot. So yeah, so go ahead and get all of those out. You can take your cookies out, you can take your icing pods out and start massaging them, and then I'll go over our first step. Thanks, guys. Alrighty, so I don't even think I introduced myself. I am Kristen Grunder from Grunderfully Delicious, and I am so happy that you're here. So at this point, you should have all of your supplies out in front of you. I'd like you to grab a paper towel. I actually like to dampen mine because royal icing, it tends to get a bit crusty, so I like to have that nice and damp. You want to have a pair of scissors. And then lastly, if you have like a table fan, that would be good to use because we're doing royal icing transfers today. So a quick rundown of the class. We're going to practice on this practice sheet first, and then I'll show you step by step how to outline your cookies, how to fill them in. So if you want them to look adorable, which we all do, oh, there we go, watch all the steps. What's nice about doing this at home is you can pause and rewatch because there's a lot of information going on in this class, so pausing is really going to be your friend today. But you guys are going to start out by massaging all your bags just like this. If you notice, there's a lot of this plastic on the bag. I actually like to cut that off, the bulkiness. If you decide to do that though, don't cut too close to the tape. You want to leave about 2 inches, but all of these bags need a really good massage. I want to make sure everyone's listening because this is important. The white and the purple is measured absolutely perfect. So I don't want you guys to suck on those bags. There might be a little bit left at the end, but don't, I pretty much measured those exact. So go ahead and give those all a massage right now. We're gonna practice with our blue icing. So make sure that that one is well mixed. Mine's still a little bit frozen here, but I'm going to show you how to cut your piping bag. For this particular class, it is really important that you cut your hole teeny tiny. Yeah, because this icing is a bit looser, all of the colors are. I want to make sure you massage that and remember to cut really tiny. So if you look at your bag, there's a seam. We're going to practice with this blue, if I didn't already say that. I always hold the seam facing up when I cut my teeny tiny hole for outlining. And the reason I do that is because if I cut with the seam on the side, sometimes it pokes out a little bit and it will make my icing come out windy. So I always have that seam facing up. This is the only time that it matters, is when I'm cutting my teeny tiny hole. Centered, flatten the tip, so small. So an important thing I forgot to mention is when I'm showing you something here on the screen, make sure you're watching fully the whole instruction, and then you go to your cookies. Whenever I cut my tip, I always squeeze a little bit out onto my paper towel just to get that air out. My goal is to get my blue icing as thick as this black line here. The way that I hold my bag is I push down on the icing, hold that tape with my thumb and my pointer finger. I'm kind of pinching it, and then I roll the pod so it's nice and tight. I rest that pod in my hand. Holding that tape closed, I'm going to squeeze with these 3 fingers and my palm. I like to hold my wrist steady, and I hold my bag at a slant. I touch my tip to the paper. I squeeze and immediately lift my tip about an inch high above the paper and slowly go along, just squeezing hard enough for that line to not break. Release the pressure and touch. I'm lifting my tip about an inch high, and you want to make sure that you release the pressure a little before the end and lay it down and touch. If you don't lift immediately in the beginning, you're going to get a bump in the beginning, and if you don't release the pressure early, you're going to get a bump at the end. And real quick, I just want to show you how high that I hold my tip. So I touch my tip, squeeze, lift, and release the pressure and lay the line down and touch. So go ahead and work on those lines, and then we'll go ahead and finish the practice sheet. So pause this, do those lines, and then I'll show you the rest of this. For the waves and the swirls, we're going to do the same thing where we touch first, always touch the cookie first, squeeze and lift. This time I'm looking a little bit ahead of where I want the icing to fall. And when I'm ready to stop, I always release the pressure a little early, lay the line down, and touch. Something I forgot to mention is you want to make sure you keep your tip clean. So I'm often just giving it a little swipe here and there just to keep the crunchies off my tip. With these swirls, I lift. Again, I'm looking a little bit ahead of where I want that icing to fall. Release the pressure and touch. For the circles, we only have like little baby circles today, so we won't be doing much of this, but you can still practice. I'm just going to go even slower. So I'm squeezing slightly softer on the bag, watching the line fall down, going all the way around, lifted, and then release the pressure and touch. And then the last thing, the most important thing, is every point or edge or corner of your cookie, you want to put your tip down, not edge, your point or your corner. So I start by touching, squeeze, lift, squeezing just hard enough for that line to not break. When I get to this point, I touch, okay? And then I touch again and lift up. And this is how I get nice sharp points, nice clean corners. When you're done with that, go ahead and fold this in half, and you can take out your piece of parchment paper and your templates. All right, so if you look at your photo here, on the little chocolates there are these hearts, and on the bows there's these nice round big fluffy dots and the like little knots for the ribbon. I made these as royal icing transfers so that I could easily stick them on my cookie and have them keep a really nice shape. If I were to pipe a heart directly on my cookie, it wouldn't probably look very nice. So what I have here is this template. You only need 3 hearts and 3 bow knots for your cookies. And this is going to be nice if you have a table fan, to put a piece of tape here, tape it on the table when you're done, and have a fan blowing on it so that it will dry quicker. That would be really helpful. But I'm just going to place this right under here. I'm actually going to use my clipboard just so you can see it a little better. So we make these the first in our class so that they have enough time to crust. But go ahead and massage your purple and your dark pink. So again, when I cut my hole, I have that seam facing up, centered, flat in the tip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch my tip right here in this little corner, lift. So we need 2 dark pink ones. I touch, and then I lift. And 1 purple heart, and touch. So you're going to outline all 3 of these. And I'm not going to fill these in right away because I want these hearts to really keep their shape. If I fill these in right away, they might kind of lose their shape. So we want that outline to crust. And actually, I forgot to mention, we have this little scribe tool. If you mess up, you just take and wipe it off. Or you can use your finger. But we have one purple one. I want to show you that. And then we'll outline those little dots. While we let those outlines crust, we're going to be outlining our first cookie as well. So here's our purple. And then all of these little knots are dark pink. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of holding the parchment paper down in place to help flatten it against the parchment. So these aren't perfectly round, they're almost like a rounded heart. But the reason I'm doing them now is because I want them to lay nicely on the cookie. So now you're going to, while those outlines are crusting, you're going to take your white and you're going to outline your bow, all 3 bows. So I cut a small hole with my white, and I'm going to go ahead and touch my tip to the cookie. I lift, and I like to outline as close to the edge of the cookie as I can go, and I touch right in that corner, lift, touch, lift, go all the way around. There's no really spot to touch until I get back to the other side of the bow. So I'm still lifted. And then I touch. And then I'll come over here. So you're going to outline all 3 bows, and then you're going to fill them in. So go ahead and do that, and in just a minute I will show you how to fill these in. All right, once all of your bows are outlined, that will have given your transfers a bit more time to crust. So we're going to go ahead and fill these in. You do not need to cut your hole any bigger, but what I'm going to do is, instead of lifting like we were doing when we were outlining, I'm going to almost touch my tip to the parchment, and I squeeze and kind of move my tip in there and jiggle my tip to smooth the icing out. Now there are sprinkles on these hearts, but I don't want to add them until probably for about a minute after I flood these, because I don't want them to sink into the cookie. So I'll do the next one. I'll fill all these in. Then you're going to want to wait that minute or so, and then you can come back with your little sprinkles, and you're going to pinch these and just drizzle those on the hearts. And at this point I'm going to put mine in front of a fan so that they get crusting. And once you're done with that, you can flood or fill in your bows. So I will show you on these. You want to cut your hole just a little bit bigger so that the icing comes out easier for you, because we want to get these drying as quickly as possible. So again, I hold my tip close to the cookie, I squeeze. I like to go close to the outline that I've made, holding my tip very close to the cookie, not quite touching it, but very close. And I kind of push the icing around with the tip as I squeeze. So if I was lifting here, I wouldn't be able to direct where that icing goes. So we're just going to fill that in. And if you notice, I'm not going to leave any holes. It's nice and filled, but it's not smoothed out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just gently stab the cookie and give it a little shake. If you need to spread icing around with your scribe tool to kind of fill in holes, hold your scribe like a pencil and just kind of push it around. Before you move on to your next cookie, you want to make sure icing isn't spilling over the edge. Always check. So I'm going to go around here. If there's icing spilling over, just wipe it off. But if I move on to my next cookie and later see that it's spilling and I didn't catch it, when I go to wipe it off, what's going to happen, it's going to crack my surface. So make sure that you check those right after you flood. And then go ahead and fill in the other 2 cookies, and you can put those in front of a fan as well. While our bows are crusting, we're going to go ahead and start outlining and flooding these hearts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blue, it's already open, and I like to start here at the bottom with my tip touching right at the point, lift up, and touch. So if you look at this little outline I have here, if you were wondering what color to outline your cookies, here's our heart. We have a blue heart, a purple heart, and a light pink heart. You can also reference the photo of the cookies. Whatever the cookie is filled in with is what I outlined it with, but that's what that little key is there for. So I have a blue heart, a purple heart, and lastly we have a light pink heart. So massage that light pink before opening it. And you're going to outline that one as well. Now we're going to go ahead and fill 2 of these hearts in. We don't want to fill the light pink one in. We're doing a wet on wet technique later for that. So I'm going to push that aside, but we do need to get our purple heart and our blue heart crusting. So what I'm doing is I pushed as much icing down as I could, roll the pod, and because we're using this icing to outline our bow in a little bit, I'm going to try to flood this without cutting my hole bigger. If you do need to cut your hole bigger, you can. You'll just have to rebag your icing. But what I'm doing is I'm just trying to move as quickly as I can, just gently squeezing on the bag, but kind of jiggling and smoothing it out as I go, making sure to spread it, the icing, with the tip of my bag. And just going around. If you do need to cut your hole just a touch more, that would be fine, but you don't want to go too much like we did with that white. We still want to be able to outline some stuff in a little bit. Don't forget to check for spillage. I'm going to go ahead and set these 2 in front of a fan. Remember, the only one you don't want filled in is that light pink heart. And I'm going to grab my bow cookies. So actually, while those are crusting for a little bit longer, we're going to go ahead and outline our chocolate bars. So I'm going to look here, and it says the chocolate, the purple, light pink, and dark pink. What I'm referring to is the bottom part of the chocolate. Okay, so that's, if you're wondering what color, it's the bottom part. We're going to go ahead and outline the middle, starting with the middle. So I'm going to start with my tip right here in this corner. I lift up, and I'm going to go around this curve and kind of squiggle up and down. I'm going to do another purple. So 1 purple, 2 purple for the middle section, squiggles, and then the last one is going to be light pink. So go ahead and work on those. So 2 purples, 1 light pink. Now I'm going to outline the bottoms of these, starting with the purple. We'll go ahead and start with the dark pink. We're also going to outline the top of the chocolate with the brown. So dark pink, and we're going to open up our brown. Anytime you're handling your cookies, just be extra careful. I did put my finger in mine, but we're just gonna go ahead and keep going. So once these have crusted, it only should take 5 minutes to crust. The fan definitely does help, but I'm gonna show you how to outline these bows. So the bows, we have a blue, a purple, and a pink. I'm going to start with purple here, and if you look at the other side of this, this is what order you're going to outline. So this isn't the color. Step 1 are these 2 little loops. Step 2 is going to be this part of the bow, and step 3 is the bottom of the bow. So when I do this, I start by touching my tip right here, and I lift up, and I'm going to do 2 skinny loops. And you don't need to go super close to the edge. You can leave a little bit white background. But the most important thing are these are skinny loops. So if you need to rebag your icing, definitely do that. Now I'm going to go on to step 2 by lifting, and I'm following the curves of the cookie. So my tip goes down, and then I lift, and I'm going to go up the cookie. So the side, lift, touch, lift, go up. Okay, that's step 2. Step 3. Follow the curve of the cookie and go to that center spot right there. And you're going to outline all 3 cookies. So you can either keep watching or you can go ahead and start on yours. So once these outlines have crusted, you're going to only fill in the bottom part of this bow. So I'm only going to fill in the bottom part. I'm only also going to fill in the blue and the purple, just like we did with the hearts, because we need these ones crusting. The cheetah print we're going to do in just a little bit. So I'm leaving the light pink alone, but the reason why I'm only filling in the bottom part of this bow is because I want there to be some dimension to this cookie. If I were to fill in the top, what would happen is it would just look like a blob. So we want these to crust so that there is some definition and dimension to this cookie. So you're going to do your blue and your purple only. Once those are filled in, you're going to go ahead and move on to your chocolates. So it doesn't matter which order you go, but I'm going to take my dark pink here, and just like with the bow, we want these to crust. So I'm not going to flood 2 sections that are touching each other. I'm going to flood the dark pink bottom and then the brown top, leaving that center alone. So you'll do that with all 3 of your chocolates. All right, once those are flooded, you're going to set them aside. We're going to go back to our purple heart, which I did put my finger in, and we're going to add some lines for our disco ball. Now, if you cut your purple hole bigger, in the photo I did use purple for the lines. I'm going to go ahead and use the dark pink since my hole is nice and small. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by touching my tip right here in the middle. I lift up and I just do a gentle curve down to the bottom point. And I'm going to do another one line facing that one. Now I'm going to do one evenly spacing out, slightly curve and touch. And this side as well. The next lines I'm going to do are the horizontal lines. So I'm finding the middle of the heart, slight curve, and lift and touch. And then another one, they're facing each other. You may need to massage your dark pink before before doing these lines. Just make sure it's mixed really well. And if you need to rebag, what you'll do is you'll just cut a big hole out of the bag and squeeze the icing into the new bag. Once you're done with those lines, we're gonna let those crust for a minute, and you can go back to filling in the rest of your bow. So I wanna show you just the blue and the purple. So because I waited, it's only been sitting here for about 3 minutes, but it adds that dimension that we're looking for just from waiting a few minutes to fill in. See that little crease right there? So you'll fill in the rest of your blue bow and your purple bow. And when I have you look back up, I'm going to show you how to do your fun cheetah print. What's nice about doing these cookies at home is you really can take your time and let things crust. When you're at class, we only have about 2.5 hours, so we have to move pretty quickly. But since you're at home, definitely take the time to let sections crust that are touching each other. I'm going to come back to my disco ball, and I'm only going to fill out, again, spots that are not touching each other. So we'll start with this purple spot here, and one right here. So I'm just going to start with my purple and my blue. If you can get these in front of a fan, that would be great, because sometimes in like little narrow areas, the icing tends to crater. So that will just help prevent that from happening. So because the purple and the blue are not touching, I can flood both of those. Just the corners are touching, and that's okay. See, and I have one right here. So we're just going to let that crust, and I'm going to show you our cheetah print. It's already looking so cute. Okay, for our cheetah print, we're doing something called the wet on wet technique. And what that is basically I'm doing my light pink flood, and while that flood is still wet, I'm going to drop in some other colors so that they lay flat against the icing. So I'm going to I did cut my pink hole just a touch more, and I'm just going to flood this base pink. And the thing with this one is you don't want to over flood, because we're going to be adding so much color in this. You want to be careful not to overfill this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a few little spots to kind of spread the icing out with my scribe tool, just enough for this cookie to smooth over, but not be super, super puffy. So I take my scribe and I'm kind of dragging it on the cookie, moving the icing around quickly. That's the thing too, is you have to move quickly when you are doing the wet on wet technique. You want to make sure you watch all of this before starting your cookie. I'm also going to show you the bow in a different color, because some people did this with dark pink and blue, and it was super cute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to almost touch my tip to the cookie, and I'm going to create some kind of roundish shapes. I don't want to be lifting my tip here, because then I won't be able to get that shape that I want. I'm very close to the cookie. You can do these as small or as big as you want, but it's important to, again, not over flood because we're adding a lot of color in here, a lot more icing. So let's do some round shapes. That looks a little weird. Okay, that's fine. So now I'm gonna go right away and add my purple line. So what I'm doing is I'm going in between the light pink and the dark pink. Sometimes I do a little curve, sometimes I do a little squiggle, but I like to do two of something on each pink. And sometimes I also do a little dot. So I'm almost dragging my tip just like before. I'm trying not to overthink this, just going really random here. If you overthink it, it's just not going to turn out how you want it to. So you just got to move quickly. And there's our cheetah. So I want to show you how to do this in a different color on our bow. And just like with the other bows, you're only going to start with the bottom section. So let's go ahead and try it with blue. I'm going to do smaller dark pink dots or spots. Now I'm going to drop in my dark pink. And again, this is optional to use the blue, but I thought it looked like Lisa Frank kind of style. I thought it was cute. So here it is with the blue. All right, we'll let that crust for a few minutes before doing the top. All right, while that is crusting, you can actually go back and fill in the middle sections of the chocolates, as well as coming back to your disco ball and filling in some more of those sections. If you took my disco cowgirl class, we did a disco ball pretty close to this. I love this design. And you're just going to keep filling in, remembering to let things crust in between. This is with our light pink. Once you're done with that, you can go back to your bow and flood the top sections of your bow. right, so now we're gonna let all of these crust for just a little bit before we start doing our details on all of these. So let them crust if you have the time, and come back here when you're done in just a little bit. All right, while we're letting those crust, I want to show you just how I do the fondant bow. So what I have here is my bow mold and some cornstarch. I'm gonna put a little bit of cornstarch on my in front of me so that I can get my fondant not so sticky. So I have my little fondant here. I'm gonna dip my finger in it and kind of massage the cornstarch into the fondant, and I'm going to place the fondant in this mold and press it down. So this is what I have so far. I don't want it to look like this though. I need it to be level. I need the fondant to be level, and I need to see the shape of the bow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of swipe this off just like that and take a little bit off until it's nice and level. Press down. So see how we now see that? It's almost there. Take that off. So I'm going to press down so it's nice and neat, and wherever it's sticking out, wherever the fondant is sticking out from the shape, I kind of push it in. And then what I'm going to do is just peel this away. And there's our little bow. So cute. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to finish all of your cookies in just a sec. So what I'm going to do is just kind of push some of these aside so I can show you how to finish each of these cookies one by one. The cheetah print is done. Oh, I just put my finger in my bow, my cheetah bow, but that's okay. I get to eat these. Our disco ball done. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to show you how to finish your purple bow. Actually, I'm going to show you how to finish, yes, the bows. We're going to do the splatter technique on our little bow and our heart. So you guys have this little cup that has food gel in it and a paintbrush. What I'm going to do is, it's really thick right now. I want to dilute it with water. So I'm going to spray a little bit of water in here. Mix that up, and you want it to be loose enough that it drips off your paintbrush when you tap it on the bowl. So it's not dripping, so I'm going to do just a little bit more water. Stir it really well. That should be good. I'm going to take my paintbrush, not my paintbrush, my fork. Holding my fork upside down, I'm about 6 inches from the cookie. I'm going to dip my paintbrush and kind of press it on my cup just to get the excess paint off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and forth, and as I go back and forth with my paintbrush, I get closer and closer to the cookie. So I'm going pretty aggressively with the back and forth with my paintbrush. So add as little or as much as you want. This also does look cute on your disco ball, but you want to make sure you have everything out of the way. To finish this cookie, you're just going to apply your bow. To do that, you're going to take a little bit of the pink icing, a tiny little dot, and just set that right on there. So cute. There's your third finished cookie. Now I'm going to finish I just keep putting my fingers in my cookies. Did you guys see that? It's okay. It's okay. To finish our chocolates, you're going to take your brown and you're going to do a little X on here. So I go down the middle and to the side. So you'll do that on all of your chocolates. You have your little hearts, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully, because they're probably still very wet underneath, but I take my finger kind of under here and kind of lift up all around the heart and gently, I just want to make sure all the outside is not stuck, and then I carefully pull it off. So see how wet it still is? You just want to be really careful. I would recommend adding a little dot on your chocolate first before trying to peel that off, so you can immediately glue this on your cookie. All right, so that's how you do that. I'm not gonna make you watch, but I will finish mine on camera in just a minute, but I wanna show you how to finish your bow. So I'm gonna take my pink, my dark pink. Should see if I can zoom in here, yes. And I'm going to re-outline my loop. Then I'm going to take and make a line down the middle here and go and do a little wave. I'll take my little dot off the paper and I'm going to put just a little bit of icing on the back and place that on carefully. It's hard to do this when you have nails. Just be extra careful. There we go. Show you the purple one. All right, and if they crack, you can just wait for your little detail to dry and then make a little dot on here, which I have to do for this one because my last one did crack. The longer you have to let these things crust, the better. Oh, and you know what? I'm just realizing now that on the blue cookie, the picture has the detail in blue. So you may want to do that. But I just am going to have you guys finish up your cookies and just say thank you so much for joining me. But I hope you enjoyed the class. You're just going to add your little center on your bow and finish your chocolates. But I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Valentine's Day. I truly appreciate your business and support, and I hope to see you again. Bye.